And then next up we have Carl. He's going to be putting together this cake for
us. #1 fans right there.
All right. You guys hear me? I think you want me to wear this? Yeah. Can you hear me better that way?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so we've got a lot to do today and a short amount of time to get it done. So we'll get started pretty quickly. However, I do want to say that I don't know if anybody else is excited as I am about the new Halloween introductions for Department 56. When those first came out and I saw them online, I flipped out. I've already put in 2 more job applications because I'm going to need all the extra money to be able to buy everything that's coming out for Halloween. It's going to be a great year for Halloween for Department 56. And some of the things that they showed up here earlier as the introduction, I would almost guarantee that those are going to be sold out immediately. So I've already asked Don when they're taking pre-orders, and probably ought to get your name in pretty quick because I think some of that stuff, like the Kraken House and some of the pirate stuff, I think is going to go quick. The castle is amazing. So I'm very, very, very excited to be able to kind of take part in that. So, hey, so today we're not doing Halloween, but we are painting. So I'm going to at least attempt to keep my clothes somewhat clean here. We did take down our Halloween village, unfortunately, and now we've got Christmas up. So we've made that transition in our household. Our Christmas is not nearly as impressive, I don't think, as our Halloween. We've got a Christmas lane, probably about a 10-foot Christmas lane display up, and then we've got one Christmas in the City church. I think it's Church of the Holy Light. It's an older piece, but it's an absolutely beautiful church. And I've got that as a small vignette. And that's really it for the Department 56. We've got a whole bunch of other stuff set up, but not a lot of that stuff. So, hey, with that, I'm going to keep talking, but I'm going to start setting some stuff up. We're going to cut foam. And today what we are going to do is we are going to take 2 really cool Christmas lane houses, and we're going to make a vignette that you can use on a side table, your main table, wherever you want to put it. And the cool part about this is this display can be so versatile that it's modular, so you can continue to build it. This is exactly how I built, almost exactly how I built my 10-foot section. That is just, I mean, I know I made it, so I like it, but I can show pictures of it if you'd like to see it at some other point, but it's absolutely gorgeous. It's a perfect winter scene, and so what I want to do today is kind of show you how I go about thinking about building that and then building it. And you've seen me do this stuff before. You've seen my YouTube channel. I strive for realism more than anything else. I want the village to be, you look at the village and when you see it, you can imagine yourself walking down the street. You can imagine how cold it is, or in my case for Halloween, you can imagine how scary it is or how the sound. I want you to be fully immersed into the scene that I create. So therefore I try to go for ultra realism when I create a scene. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. If you've seen my work, you know that that's kind of what I strive for. Okay, so a little bit different today. We're going to cut foam. It wasn't cut ahead of time, so we're going to cut it. But the first thing I want to do is, when I'm laying out a piece like this, now this is a 1-inch piece of styrofoam, and for me, today this is going to be fine. At home, what I use, and what I'm going to use today to build the sidewalk, and you guys have seen me do this before, is this pink XPS foam. It holds so much more detail than this white foam, right? This is very squishy and pliable. This is very hard, but it holds a lot of detail. So when you're trying to make a sidewalk or something like that where you need that ultra realism and that detail, this is the best foam that I found to use. So we're going to use a little bit of that as well. And so before we do that though, we're going to put a road. Now there's a couple of options, and in the interest of time, I'm going to go with the quicker option. But there are some other ways to use road. I have used the Department 56 matting, which is absolutely perfect. They make it in the brick style, they make it the cobblestone style, they make different styles now for Christmas. You've got some of the candy colored road if you want to use that, especially in Paul's work with the North Pole series and things like that. It'd be absolutely beautiful doing that. However, today, what I found, and you guys have seen me do this before as well, I'm going to use, and the reason I'm using this today, one, it's pretty easy, and two, it's very, very quick. It's a sticky, non-skid tape, right? So sticky, non-skid tape, and for Christmas, I usually take my road anyway and take the Super Gloss Mod Podge and put lines down the road like tire tracks, and then sprinkle the fresh fallen snow on that and let it dry. So when I'm done with all, now this won't be like this today, we just don't have time, but at home I take the glue water mixture and I take everything that I've showed you on the YouTube channel to do, and you coat everything so thoroughly in that when I store my displays, I store them in my home in a walk-in closet, none of the stuff comes off. I've got snow piles, mounds of it. It looks like fresh fallen snow, but it doesn't come off. It doesn't, you can hit it, you can shake it. Now if you scrub it, some of it's going to come off, but by and large, once you put the glue water mixture on it and you let it dry, it stays absolutely perfect just the way it is. It's the same way I do my grass texture for my Halloween villages, right? So we're going to use this today. That'll be pretty quick and easy. And then we're going to do two houses. Now, so the first thing that we want to do when we're designing this is try to figure out how we're going to put our homes on this display. I'm going to put this one away. This is going to be our bottom base. This is going to be the road. Okay? So we'll use that here in a moment. And for our houses today, we've chosen a couple of the cool ones, at least in my opinion. We've got the Season's Greeting house, right? Now, a couple of accessories for this house has retired. It's on the retirement list. So, and I've got that accessory. We'll break that out today. And then the other one that retired is also the Peanuts house, right? And so we're going to use the Peanuts house and the Season's Greeting house, and then we're going to use a couple of accessories to go along with those to kind of make this a full little scene for Christmas. So the first thing we're going to do, and I've got everything in this box, so I apologize, but we'll get there. We're going to measure how long and how wide we want our first initial piece of foam, okay? And then once we have got that done, there's some of this stuff up here. We will cut the foam and get started with that. So I would think that I don't go crazy with this stuff, and I do want a pretty straight edge. So I think I'm going to bring the houses up to this side here. And I do want a little bit of a yard in front and a little bit of a yard on the side so we can have some accessories around and you'll be able to see that. But I think that will probably be good there. I don't know how long that is, nor honestly at this stage do I really care because it's just going to be one display. Now, if you were going to build this into a 10-foot or a 12-foot section or 8-foot, whatever, wherever you're going to put it, you do want to measure very thoroughly because as you continue these pieces down the road, you're going to want to make them the exact same size so that everything lines up, right? So when you put them side by side, the sidewalks match, the road matches, the yards all match, and things like that. So in this case, if we were doing that, I'm just going to bring this up to round it off and go, that would be 16 inches, okay? And then over here, we would do the same thing at 16 inches. That's probably big enough for this piece that we're going to cut today. And then I'm going to try my best to make a straight line with what I've got here. At home, I use a T-square. I did not bring it today, but this should get us at least somewhat close. And this will be the back of the display, so in all honesty, nobody will really see a whole lot of it. And then here, we're just going to kind of cut to what looks straight. Something like this. Is this all making sense so far? Okay, so that is the first piece of foam that I'm going to cut. And so I've got my houses sitting on there. I've got everything measured, and so I'm going to cut this piece of foam, and then we'll go for our street and our road and cut that. So, any questions so far? All right. Okay. This should be fired up and ready to go. Now, there's a couple different ways to cut this. I'm going to use the hot wire foam cutting tool to just kind of use the long blade here and come straight down this foam. Notice I haven't taken any of the material off the foam. You don't really need to do that right now. We'll peel that off before we start the painting process. And again, if you're doing this inside, try to do this with the windows open or in a well-ventilated area, just in case. I mean, these fumes are probably not good for you.
We're going to get hung.
Well, I hope not. Isn't it weird how you like the smell of something? And then we'll do one more cut. Who said they like the smell of this?
She does.
You'll have to come up and cut off.
I know I'm weird.
No, it's all right.
We know that.
I was in the Air Force for 28 years, and I love the smell of jet fuel. If there was a cologne that smelled like jet fuel, I would wear it. Nobody would get around me, but I love it. It takes me back to so many fond memories. Okay, I'm going to set this piece aside. Now this is, I don't think this is 2-inch piece of foam. I think this is about 1.5 inches. I typically use the 2-inch foam just so I can cut a little bit deeper in the stairs. But the 1 inch is going to be just fine. And so for this is the hard part, or the tedious part. I'm only going to take the foam on this stuff off the front because this is the bottom, and because I am on some sort of a time crunch, I don't really care that it's there. Sometimes it's a lot easier to get off of there than other times. Okay, that'll be fine for that. And then for the top, we do want that to come off. And that's pretty easy.
So you know what it comes
Anybody still got their Halloween decorations up?
Yes.
Right. Hey, I'll tell you, I know there's several clubs here today, and if you are not part of a Department 56 club, I would encourage you to do so, to join one. It costs you little to nothing to do it, but it's so rewarding. And part of the club that I'm in, it's the Southwest Villagers. I know a lot of those folks are here today, but we got the opportunity to go out and tour a bunch of homes set up for the holidays, and I'll tell you, incredibly impressive to see some of the collections and some of the way they designed their village and set it up. And I saw Jim and Martha here earlier, and we went to Mary Jewel's house. We went all over the place. But I don't think I've seen a collection like Jim and Martha has. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of Department 56 pieces they have for Halloween. It was like walking into a showroom. I wanted to buy their stuff. They wouldn't sell it. But it was very, very impressive. And so if you're not in a club and you want to join one, come and see me, or I know there's other clubs here that I think some from California, some from Tucson, and so if you want to join a club, today would be a great day to do so. Okay, so the way we're going to do the road is pretty simple, right? So I want the road. So if this was longer, I would measure, but since, I mean, this is This is going to be the road, and so the way I'm doing this is I want this to set flush, I want the road, but I also want a 2-inch sidewalk, right? So a 2-inch sidewalk is what we certainly need. And so the way I'm going to do this is with this sitting here, I'm going to measure for a 2-inch sidewalk right about there. So that'll take us to about there. And then we have not built the sidewalk, but we will. Okay, so we've got a 2-inch sidewalk marked out. Okay, I've got the road that's going to kind of it'll come underneath the sidewalk just a little bit. So maybe something like that. And then so what we're left with is a little bit of an overhang about like this. Okay, and I'm just going to kind of draw this as straight as I can. Okay, and that's what we're going to cut off there. And then if I can still use this as a guide, I'm just going to cut this piece of foam kind of down through here. Now I'm freehanding this, so we get what we get. But that's going to be the second piece of foam that I cut. Does that make sense? Can you guys see what's happening? So that's the second piece of foam that I'm going to cut. That will encompass the sidewalk and the road. Okay? All right. Now, we really want this front piece straight. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to cut this one here as straight as I can with the hot wire foam tool. And I think for the front piece, because I do want it incredibly straight, I'll probably try to do that on the Proxon. Now the last time I taught the class here and I used the Proxon, you guys know there's a couple things that I'm adamant about. One is obviously Department 56 pieces, especially Halloween. The next is my hot wire foam factory tools. And then the third is the Proxon table cutter. The last time I was here, you saw it malfunction and it bothered me. It bothered me quite a bit. And I told you, I said, if this thing did honestly malfunction and I couldn't fix it, I would go online and order another one that day. And so I did not, because I went home and took a look at it. And I don't want to unplug a bunch of stuff here, so I'm plugging this in, but okay, there we go. I just really took the wire, I tightened everything up on the bottom. According to the RandomJChannel guys, they fix broken things. They're going to come up later and show you how to fix broken things. And the first thing they said is go underneath. I Googled it already. There's some wires that can come loose. Go do that. And then also, I just changed the wire that runs from top to bottom. I plugged it in, turned it on. Everything worked fine. I cut 4 or 5 pieces of foam. It cut amazingly well. So that's where we're at. So we're going to see. We're going to see if it actually works. So the way this works to cut a straight line is you need to start with a straight line, which is the front of this. And then really, we're just going to measure. This is going to be very difficult to do with all this stuff around. We'll manage. I may need a little bit of help maybe up front here, but to catch this as it comes off the front of the table. All right, so this is on, and I'm just going to simply run it through here. How straight that is, right? I mean, it's pretty quick, make pretty light work of it. So that's good. All right, so this is the second piece, this is the road. So we're going to set that down over here for now. Oh wait, I think I may cut that other side and touch that up a little bit. But before I do, we want a 2-inch sidewalk, right? So to do a 2-inch sidewalk, I've got to measure this.
Thanks.
Trying to get all of our cutting done first, then we'll, after that it becomes fairly simple. Okay, so 2-inch sidewalk is going to be about this size right here, and this 2-inch measurement. And let me do one more since I want to here. Okay, 2 inches. The good part is you can set this up, a school ruler or something a little smaller works a little bit easier. You're going to get right at 2 inches on this, but this is what I've got today, so it'll work. About like that, that should be good. All right. So we'll do the same thing here for the sidewalk. Head and fork, oh, you got it. Now, if you do get a proxon, if that's something you decide to add to your lineup, I certainly recommend getting a different fence for the proxon. It comes with one that is relatively small, thin, and unreliable. I bought this one at I think it was on Facebook Marketplace for like $8 or $10. And it allows you to cut all the way up to the top of whatever you're cutting. It doesn't move. It's pretty simple to keep that way. Now here's the real value of the proxon. This is too thick for a sidewalk, right? But I want a very straight piece, but I only want it about 1/4 inch thick. So in order to cut a sidewalk at 1/4 inch, we simply just move the fence up to what looks to be about 1/4 inch. I'm just kind of eyeballing it, but that's going to be pretty close. And then we simply take our sidewalk that we just cut, and I'm going to turn the heat up to this a little bit. No, I think we'll be good with this one. I just hold it flat against here, and just bring it right on through. Again, just like anything else, let the piece do the work, or your tool do the work. I've seen people go way too fast, and this wire gets very hot, but this foam is also pretty thick. Okay, so there is about 1/4 inch thick piece of sidewalk, and that doesn't look like a sidewalk yet, but rest assured it will. Okay, so I think we're done cutting, at least with the proxon, so we'll take this and put it back down here for now. Okay, let's bring our pieces back up and see how we're looking. All right, so we've got our road. I knew there was, wait, we don't have a road. One of these is our road. I think it's this one. This is another road piece. That's why it's
Yeah, that's.
right here in front of me. Is it a snake? All right, so this is the straight side. So that looks pretty good. Not too bad. There's a little cutting that needs to be done, and I can take care of that before we finalize it. But that looks pretty good. Our sidewalk, oh, I wasn't done cutting because we need another piece of sidewalk. That's okay. Let's just take a measurement and see how we're looking here. And that's going to be absolutely perfect once it's under the sidewalk a little bit. So that's absolutely perfect the way we need it. I just need one more piece of sidewalk cut, and we will be good. Okay. Do this again. This is going to be a little more challenging because this is a very thin piece that we're cutting to begin with. piece we cut off of that to make it what we want. But it works, so that's what we need.
I keep throwing this back.
But I'm really not done because we've got to come over this way with it and we'll cut it right about there. Okay? So then we just move this to our line here. Like that, and we'll just kind of eyeball that straight there. And then there's our sidewalk. Make sense? Okay, so now we've got a sidewalk, we've got the base, we've got everything that we need to get started. And so now we need to, I think the first thing I'm going to do is change tools out and then get ready to, I'm going to use the the handheld engraving tool from Hot Wire Foam Factory, and that's going to allow me to do a couple of things. One, we need to texture the sidewalk where it actually looks like a sidewalk. Instead of just a piece of foam. And so how we're going to do that is through a couple of very complex and very thought-provoking ways. You're really going to have to pay attention or you're going to miss it. You may not even have any of this stuff at home, but it's tinfoil. So you probably do, right? So you're just going to take a piece of tinfoil and wad it up into a ball. Okay, that's the first step. There's also a couple of little other accessories that I like using. These little box cutters, these little blades. And so to style up the sidewalk, the first thing we're going to do, and there's a couple of things you can do. You can measure it and then get a center reading off of it. This is just shy, this is about 30 and a half, so it's about 15 and a quarter for the center. So 15 and a quarter is somewhere right about here is the center piece. And then I can just start making cuts or engraving about every 2 inches. I would take, if you were going to do this to make it perfect, I would just measure about 2 inches off in each direction, and then take a metal ruler or something as a straight line. And I don't really have anything with me to do that with today, and I'm looking around to see if there's anything I could use. I could use foam, always a good thing, right? And so the first thing I'm going to do is just lay the foam kind of across the top, and then just go straight through the foam, not all the way through, you're just engraving. And what you're doing is you're putting your sidewalk pieces in place, okay? So then I'm just gonna eyeball this and go about every 2 inches and just kind of go with it here. I'm sorry? Yeah, but I'm gonna go 2 inches across this way now with each sidewalk piece, right? Does that make sense? You're looking at me like
I'm not saying what you need to hear.
okay. Yes, this is 2 inches in width. Oh. Well, that makes no sense, but I'm going to do it. It makes absolutely perfect sense. I hear you. Look at you go. And so
I've adapted myself several times.
I see that. I like it. I like it. So yeah, when you don't have a ruler, you just make one. Okay, I'm gonna leave. Well, see, that's the bad part is when you've got to make you've got a cut that is not where it's supposed to be because you have to make a longer sidewalk. But that's okay. It'll all work itself out when it's not moved down. You'll never really see it. Okay, so those are the lines of the sidewalk. I'm just going to start here. Any questions so far? Pretty easy enough?
You do this.
What's that? Yeah, you guys can do it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You guys, I told you that I was not I refused to collect Witch's Hollow. So now I've got all the pieces except 2. I've gone a little crazy. And so if anybody has a 3 Witches Cauldron or a Cecia's Victoria that they would love to sell me, let me know. Because those are the only other 2 pieces that I need, and I think the collection is complete. Don't forget to bring your sidewalk down in the front to where it resembles. And the good part about this sidewalk is is not village specific. You can use this in Halloween, Christmas in the City, North Pole, wherever you have a sidewalk, you can put this in your village. And they're all painted the same because really a sidewalk, to me, looks the same, right? Now, I would dirty the Halloween sidewalk up just a little bit more than I would dirty up a North Pole sidewalk, and it'd be a different color, different paint scheme, but the same rules sort of apply. Okay, makes sense for the sidewalk? Okay, so that's the first part of the sidewalk. And then to get the texture onto the sidewalk, we're going to do this box cutter. And we're just going to simply slice and pull in certain areas and in different directions. And we're taking chunks out of, and I would also do this a little more prevalently in a Halloween sidewalk than I would any other type of sidewalk. The sidewalks are always, there's ruts, there's broken pieces of concrete, and I don't want to be repetitive, but maybe that's what I've done. But I want you to be able to see the picture of it when it's done. Okay, so that's kind of, I don't know if you can see that, but that's sort of how that looks. If you can see that. And then the final piece that we do before we paint this is we take this foam roll of foil and just start creasing and pressing into this pink SPS foam, and it creates, and then kind of mix and match. Don't use the same, kind of turn the foil over. Pass that around real quick, and so you can kind of take a look at what that sidewalk is starting to look like texture-wise versus just a piece of pink foam. And so that's the texture that mimics concrete. A lot of people ask me in my Haunted Mansion build that I did to resemble Disneyland with the little gate and the queue line and everything else. They're like, how did you do the concrete to make it look like concrete? I used pink XPS foam as a base, and I used a foil ball to do the concrete. And once it's painted, it looks convincingly just like concrete. And so you can use this in different parts of your village, not just on sidewalks. If you're doing a lot of concrete work or something like that, it's perfect for that as well. All right. Anybody use, and you don't have to use foil, has anybody used anything else to create texture? You can use rocks from your yard. Here in Arizona, they're prevalent. So you can use rocks from the yard. If you make individual bricks, I've seen a lot of people make bricks, and to make bricks, to get this texture on it in a hurry, you take, if you're going to cut individual bricks, and I recommend doing that depending on the vignette or the display you're trying to build. It gives a whole different flavor of what you're trying to do. But if you want to do a lot of that in a hurry, you cut your bricks, and you can do it really quick on the Proxxon, incredibly quick. Then you take a bunch of rocks, and try to get them as clean as you can, put them into like a coffee can or a big jug, put all of your bricks down in there, and just repeatedly shake it for probably 5 minutes or so, and when you break them out, they're all textured just like this because they're hitting all over the rocks, and it textures them right away for you. Make sense? Okay, any questions so far? All right, so next. I'm sorry? Yeah, this is just foam insulation that you can get. It's XPS foam. You can pick these sheets up. XPS, extruded polystyrene foam. You can get this at Lowe's or Home Depot, and you get them in little sheets, so it's 2 by 2 foot sheets for $5 or $6 each. And that holds this texture a whole lot better than this white foam does. Okay, so since we've got our handheld engraving, we're going to switch this out one more time, and we're going to cut stairs, which is, I know, everybody's favorite. And so this handheld handheld freehand routing tool is what it's called. We're going to shape into something that looks somewhat like stairs. Okay? And we're going to get it as straight as we can. Do me a favor, make sure that this is unplugged and when you're doing this. I'm not telling you that I've done that. I'm telling you that I've done that. Make sure, this gets really hot, so make sure that you're doing that, all right? So now, would I just randomly start cutting stairs, you think? Some people would say sure. I would not. And the reason I would not, because I don't really know where I need the stairs, right? So what I want to do is I want to test fit my houses back on, and then line the stairs up with the doorways, right? So the way that I would do that is put this down here for now. Let's bring this back around. Okay, let's say I want a house right about here, and a house right about here. Okay, that's pretty good spacing, right? And then, in order for me to see, I'm going to turn this around just a little bit, make sure this is all lined up. And then I think I would want the stairs to be somewhat in this vicinity here, and somewhat in this vicinity there. Does that make sense? So that way when I place my homes, I've already got my stairs where I want them, and we're good to go. Now there's 100 ways, probably not, but a lot of ways to make stairs. This is probably the most difficult part for many to do, especially when they're just getting started with foam cutting. And so my advice to you is take your time, don't get in a rush, practice, practice, practice. Take a piece of scrap foam and practice with that. Take do 2 or 3 cuts in a practice piece of foam before you go into your real piece, right? And at the end of the day, it's stairs. They can be a miss, especially in a Halloween village. It actually looks better sometimes that way. With a 2-inch piece of foam, the stairs are a little more defined. When the sidewalk sets up here, you're going to lose a little bit of that, so you got to keep that in mind. So bigger is sometimes better as far as 1.5 inch versus 2 inch. I would prefer the 2 inch. But with that, I just try to get down at a level, and the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to bring the foam tool down and out to cut one stair, and then take a break, catch breath, and then do another one. You could just go straight out and down and be done with 2 stairs that way, or you could do this with a box knife. There's 100 ways to do it. We're going to use this. So the first cut is, and this is where you realize that you shouldn't have had coffee this morning. So just basically down and out. Okay, and then the same thing again, down and out. And you've got a couple little stairs right there. They're not great, but they're okay, and they'll look much better when they're painted. Same thing here. Okay, so that's it for the stairs. Pretty easy, pretty basic. This one is not nearly as good as this one, but that's okay. I think Charlie Brown lives here. So it's perfect. All right, so we'll unplug this and plug this back in. And so now we're going to do, before we start painting and gluing everything down, we need to do some brickwork. Okay, so the brickwork is pretty basic as well. And for this display here, since if you're going to add to this, okay, and you're going to butt something else up against this, you really don't need to do anything to this side of it, because you're going to have another piece of foam slide right up against it. Nobody will ever see it. If you're unsure how long you're going to make this, or you're just going to start maybe this year with a vignette, and then you want to maybe extend it next year when you get a couple more pieces or what have you, I recommend you just cut them in while you're cutting, and that way, even if they're there and you butt something up against it, nobody's going to know the difference. It's going to be just fine. So with that, this should be warming up. And so really, we're going to make a couple of lines. And I'm going to turn this all the way up. And maybe it needs a little bit more time to heat. But we're just going to take a couple of lines and go straight down the side of this foam. Oh, thank you. And this is the tedious part, right? This is, and you can go over this a couple of times. Matter of fact, I'm going to put my old man glasses on so I can see. The deeper you go with this, in my opinion, the better that it's going to look. And because once you put the paint in it, now you guys know, and you've heard me say before, I am not a big fan of the spray paint. But for the quickness and the ease of it, you can't beat spray paint. You have to use a water-based paint if you're going to paint styrofoam. Otherwise, the aerosol in a normal can of paint will destroy your work. I mean, just you'll spray it and it'll dissolve right away. You'll be in trouble. And so I try to only use acrylic paint when I'm at home. I just take my time. It does take a little bit longer, but I think in the end, it looks better. In my opinion, it looks way better. But today we have spray paint, and we're going to be using some of the spray paint, but we also may be using some acrylic paint to kind of highlight some areas as well, if that makes sense. Okay, so I know this is incredibly hard to see, but I've made one row of bricks. I'm just going to alternate and make another row and then a third row. Is what we're kind of striving for here. And this is the most tedious part of this, but it also looks really, really good when it's done and painted. It's going to look amazing. So again, just take your time, and once this tool heats up to temperature, it doesn't take a lot of pressure. Just let the tool work its magic. You don't need to force it. It'll do it all by itself. Somebody was asking me earlier if I really enjoy the hot wire foam factory tools or would I recommend another brand. When I first started, I bought some Walmart hot wire tools or Hobby Lobby or Michaels, and I think they cost like 20 bucks. And so I would take them home, and I was just learning how to do this. And in order to cut, this is probably not too bad, but in order to cut like a big piece of foam, the tool that I would use, I would get about halfway through and it just stopped cutting. I would have to take it out and let it heat up again, and then go back and cut more. And I see people shaking their heads. You've probably seen that. And so I started watching YouTube videos, and I saw everybody that was really anybody cutting foam was using hot wire foam factory tools. And so the next time I was at Millie's, I knew they carried like starter sets. So I bought a starter set of the hot wire foam factory tools, and it comes with just about everything you would need. Just to try it out. And I saw immediately the difference in quality of tools. I mean, these are great. The company also stands behind their tools. If you have a problem with the tools, you can easily shoot them an email or call them up. I've had 2 tools already that have malfunctioned. I called or I shot them an email, and within a week or 2, I had replacement tools at no charge in the mail delivered to my home. And so they stand behind their tools. They do cost a little bit more, but I think in some cases you get what you pay for, and this is one of those cases. All right, so everybody see how that's coming along? Can you see that at all? I know it's probably hard to see, but it's hopefully it's starting to look like brick or stonework. That's what it's supposed to look like. And again, this is the most tedious part of building these. And when I first started, I used to use, again, before I had hot wire foam factory tools. Matter of fact, I'm giving away my first village that I ever built. Village can have it. I think they're going to raffle it off. I think it's an 8-foot section of village. It's the first trick-or-treat lane that I did. I like it. I think it was really good for the time, but I think I've grown in my skills since then, and I just don't have room for it. Plus, I want to redo the trick-or-treat lane with my new techniques. And so I'm just running out of space. So if you've seen the YouTube channel, you've seen that piece. I think we're going to raffle that off today. And then I also brought another piece in that if you saw the YouTube video on the most famous question that I received this last year was, how do you make a curved vignette? How do you make a curved vignette? So I did a whole tutorial series on the curved vignette and how you go about building that. So I'm going to also, that's going to be raffled off today. It's brand new. It's with the new techniques. It'll hold 3 homes. And it's a curved piece that would be an excellent way to start a village if you haven't done that yet, or you're just getting into foam cutting. So there's that. Okay, and then in the interest of time today, I don't think I'm going to do the side that I said would butt up to something, because this is just repetitive work, and if you guys clearly can see that this is just, it's pretty simple. It's a brick pattern. There's not a whole lot involved. It just takes time. And there's no rule on how many stacks of bricks that you can make. You can do these incredibly small. If you look at some of the villages out on display today for the contest, you'll see some that have 5 and 6 different stack ups in a piece of foam about this size. It looks wonderful if you do that. I've seen others with just a couple of different stacks. So really it depends on what the look is that you're going for will dictate how that looks. Okay, so that's all the carving done. So I think with that, we have carved just about everything that we need to carve, minus some holes for accessories and things like that. But I'll place those, and we'll do that here in a moment. So with that, I think we're going to start painting. And this is what I don't do at home, right? But I don't want to just, this is a snow scene. So snow scenes to me, like if this was a Halloween scene, I wouldn't care. I'll just paint the whole thing and be done with it. But since this is going to be a Christmas scene, I don't want black paint all over the top of this thing, because if I do, then it's going to be hard to hide that with snow, right? So I'm going to try to avoid getting as much paint on this as I can when I use the spray paint. So I'm just taking some masking tape and masking the size of this off, other than just a little overhang where I want the bricks to be. And because obviously you do have bricks at the top of this thing too, right? You kind of want to display those. And there's no science behind this other than just trying to mask it off so it looks halfway decent. And on this piece specifically, actually I'm not going to paint this side at all, because we're just going to have that butt up, like I said, to something else. So I'll just mask this side off as well. Okay. All right, so then the way that I like to paint is I like to take black paint and cover everything in a pretty thick coat of black paint. And what that does is it highlights the lines that you've just made. And then when you go over that with gray, your grout lines still kind of shine out and stick out, right? So the way we're going to do that, you can imagine the paint going. There we go. I think it's cold.
So what paint are you using, Carl?
This is a Liquitex paint. This is a water-based paint, and this will not eat foam. It's a wonderful paint. Now, the Liquitex paint is amazing. It is a little spendy, so you'll pay somewhere around $12 to $15 a can for this. I can go buy Lowe's paint in a gallon size of black for about that size, and it'll last me all year. It's a lot more work, but it lasts me a whole, I'm not excited. It lasts a whole lot longer. I'm just gonna set this here and paint right towards you guys. I'm here for you. And then, but this paint works really, really well for foam. It's the only, there are other brands, but Liquitex is probably the most widely known and widely used. And you really want to make sure you get your grout lines, is really what you're trying to do here, because the rest of the vignette is not going to be, it's mostly going to be gray. Okay. Now, I don't think here's a neutral gray. We're gonna try gray with spray paint just in the interest of time. But while that's drying, we're gonna set this right up there. You can kind of see the way that's starting to look. We cannot forget about our sidewalk. It absolutely needs some gray paint, or some black paint rather. Make sure. Okay, so anything else that we need to paint? I don't think there's anything else we need to paint black right now. So we're going to let those dry, or at least start to dry. Now this is going to be our base, is that right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to test this gray paint, because I'd like the base to be somewhat gray. You could do white if you wanted to do a North Pole scene. The way I would do this is take some blue, either acrylic paint or spray paint, and just kind of leave most of it white, but put some blue in it where it almost looks like ice. It's a beautiful effect. If some of it's inside, you'll be able to see it there. All right, so we're going to try this gray. Let's see what that looks like. It says neutral gray. Very cool. It's starting to come out a little gray. It'll work for purposes, I think, here. Okay. Sarah, how are we doing on time? Is she out here?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
You have 20 minutes, right? If you run a little over, it's fine.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so I think what we'll do now is I'm going to try a little bit of this neutral gray on the black and see how it works on this before we try the acrylic. The acrylic takes a while, as you guys can imagine. So this is dry enough so where we can take some gray and see if that's going to look okay. We just want a little bit on there. It doesn't look too bad. I still prefer acrylic. way beyond this spray paint, but in a hurry, this will work for sure. Yeah, you definitely, I like the dry brush better, and then at the very end, I would use a white dry brush on that to kind of highlight some of that. Now the bad part is, and you'll see it just like we're going to cover most of it with houses and accessories, but there's some overspray, which again, you won't get with using acrylic paint, but you certainly get with using spray paint. And so there's a little bit of black overspray all over the top of this. I think we can cover most of it, but you'll be able to see some of that overspray as well. So you can kind of see there the overspray, right? But that doesn't look too bad. I would add just a little bit more gray. Yeah, just a little bit more to the top of this here. And just there, I would also highlight those, and then maybe. Okay, so that's kind of how we're looking so far. Does that make sense? All right, let's try to do the same thing now with the gray here in the interest of time. This may help us. Especially because this is going to be covered with snow. It's not my first choice of gray, but you can kind of see how that's looking. Look at the detail that pops out of that. I don't know if you can see that, but that looks pretty good. This is almost too white for me. But I think we can Well, that's all dry. We're going to plug in. We're going to start getting ready to glue things down. Okay, the next thing that we can do while we're waiting on the glue gun to get hot is we can take our road and we can measure out our road and cut that off. First I need a straight piece. This was left over from doing the curved piece that I did on the memorial. So just get that out of the way and make it straight. And then for the road,
Carl, what's that material called again?
this is non-skid tape. So like for porches or pool decks or something like that, this works great for that. That's what it was designed for. But it just happens to be about the same width as the Department 56 road. And if you're just going to cover it up with sand or snow or something like that, why why spend the money on the Department 56 road just to cover it up?
Don't let Lisa hear you say that.
Well, I mean, just to cover it up, right? I mean, if I was going to do something that I didn't cover up with snow or something like that, I would use the Department 56 stuff for sure. Now, the village that I have at home right now, that is my snow village, is I use Department 56 cobblestone road for that. And the reason I say that is because then I went back and covered it with Mod Podge to make it look wet and slick, and then sprinkled fresh fallen snow all over it, and it looks just like ice, but you can't see really any of the ice. So I basically took the matting and covered it completely up, is what I'm saying. So if you're going to do that to make it look realistic, just use something like this. And it works just the same. It looks just as good. At least in my opinion, it looks just as good. And you don't have to worry about save the good stuff for Halloween or something that's not going to cover up. I got this at Amazon. Yep, on Amazon. I don't remember. I mean, it'll set you back $10 or $12, $14, not much. Okay, so now here's the thing, right? When you peel this off, they say this back is sticky. That is an understatement. When you peel this stuff off, you've got one shot to get it right. If you don't, you're going to pull foam off. You're going to pull everything else off. It will never come off, which is good. I mean, it is. I mean, look at this. It's like fly paper sticky, right? So you just be careful with it, because a lot of people will, and then it'll flip back up on itself, and now you've wasted this as well. So the crazy part here is you just got to get it. You got to get it just where you want it, and try to make sure that you're going to be happy with it. Because once it's down, it's down. No wrinkle. And it doesn't really wrinkle anyway. It's pretty good. Now we'll do some trimming at the very end, but tell me, just from a quick distance, that doesn't look like road, right? And especially when you've got everything else on it and all the details. Now, in the interest of time, as you guys have seen my other tutorials, I typically also make a curve. Okay, and the curb would be painted just like the sidewalk, and the curb would be out here to cover this part of the road. And I just hot glue that down, and to me, you've got a sidewalk, you've got a curb, you've got the road. It looks amazing when you do that. And the only way that I found to do that is on the property line. You've got to cut a strip of this 1/4 inch XPS foam, probably another 1/4 inch. Straight down the side, and then you can do that little strip right down to there after it's painted, right? So with that, we are ready. Hopefully this is ready. It looks to be about ready. We are going to hot glue. Yep, that's ready. So we're just going to smear some glue. We're going to start gluing this bad boy down. Of course, I've got a glue. That's never a good thing. It's always good to be prepared ahead of time, so you don't do this. So that's plenty of glue to do what we're trying to do. We're going to take this glue. We're going to go right there. Glue is also very hot. Well, so the frustrating part for me is the paint, right? Because the paint is still, it's not completely dry. And it certainly, I mean, I can fix this with snow. Nobody will ever be able to see the difference. But where I'm putting my fingers on the sidewalk, it's paint coming off. So that's why, again, I don't, doing this in a timely fashion, you're better off going very slow and very methodical and getting this done versus doing the way we're doing it now. You're going to be able to see that. I got some trimming to do. So there's your sidewalk, right? So we got that. It looks okay. I mean, I would take, I think think this is going to be given away too, so whoever decides to take this, I would just go back over with some acrylic paint and it'll look beautiful after it's done. Okay, and so there's that, and so now, honestly, what we're ready to do is, I guess there, what I don't want to do is have all, he's not going to sign these, but they should have paint on it. What's that? They may be the crazy part is this will be my second one of each. They'll be very unique. Very unique. Okay, so I don't know if we're going to plug anything in. Oh, somebody was asking about lights. Okay, so if you want to add lights to your village display, these are good for that. Now these, they sell these inside. These are my own. They're starting to come apart. You can. I've got a tutorial on my YouTube channel that shows how to put your lights in different locations, meaning cut the wire, resolder everything, make up to your specific length. I think it's a pretty good tutorial. It's got a lot of views out there. I don't know. It's a lighting video. But you'll see. So the way that these are cut perfectly for something like this, and so the way that I would do this, quite honestly, is I would take these lights and I would put them. Actually, I've got some blue tape that works this fine. Okay, so I would take the lights and kind of take them back to where they sit down, but they will reach the sidewalk. Each light needs to be able to reach the sidewalk. I pull all the wires to the very back. It doesn't really matter how they look now, they'll stay up. And so, same thing with these. Okay, so once you've got everything taped down the way you want it, you just want to bring your lights to the front. It's okay if they start to move, that's fine. You just kind of pinch them up under there. And then you can take, I use Joann's makes, well, it's not Joann's, I get it at Joann's. It's a little round adhesive. They're little dots, little clear adhesive. They sell them in the blue area. You can take these little dots and then you put them on the bottom of those lights and they stay just where you want them in the perfect position. So it's hard for these to stay that way, but you can see kind of how they would look, right? And then this wire would be run through the back of your village and plugged into an accessory. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm gonna quit fiddling with this because it's not gonna say without the dot. You need that. I mean, I guess I could simulate a dot and maybe it would work with a piece of tape, but with the glue, the way, or the paint the way it is, who knows? See my point? So with the dots, they stick straight up and down just like you would have them. Okay, and so then we would take some accessories and we would put Charlie Brown in front of Charlie Brown's house. And we would have some of these like this. Actually, before we do, well, that's fine. And so then I've experimented with 100 types of snow for Christmas. The best is called the Realistic Fresh Fallen Snow. This will work. This is real plastic snow. It's a little bit different, but it will work. This is going to make a mess. And so whoever gets this gets perfect. You can have the snow as well. But the good part about, so now what I would do if this was mine, and I was going to display it, I would have added a couple of other features that we unfortunately just don't have time to add today in this class. And that would have been a couple of sidewalks, okay, and sidewalks leading up to the front door. And the way I do that, I'll show you a kit here that you could use that is perfect for that. And then cut those to size, and then bring them, and then hot glue them into the underneath your home. And that would look absolutely perfect. And then the way I do my snow at home is I take white school glue, Elmer's glue, Craft Smart glue, and I take a sponge and I put it on very liberally all on the top of the display, other than where my house is going to be. I just outline my house with a pencil or something so I know where not to put snow. Or you can put snow there, it doesn't really matter. And then once that's done, I take glue and I put glue everywhere on top of this. I take the fresh fallen snow and I sprinkle it quite thick wherever I have the glue. Then I take my hands and I basically just smash it into the glue. I set it out in the sun and I let it dry for 3 or 4 hours, and then I take my glue water mixture. Everybody asks what the ratio is. I don't know. There's no ratio. It's about, I've got a big glow spray bottle, so about, I don't know, that tall. I use about that much glue in the bottom and about that much water in the top. Glue everything together, or shake it up and mix it up, and then spray it all over the top of this. Now you got to be careful when you start spraying the snow. If it's not completely dry, it will knock your snow off. So you need a real fine mist, as fine as you can get. Stand back and then start spraying this down. Once it starts to get wet, it will stick, and then you just keep spraying it. Wait a couple hours, go back and spray it again, and when you spray it again, sprinkle a little more snow over the top and just let it sit there. Let it sit there for a couple more hours, and when you're done, the snow is hard as a rock, yet it still looks fluffy and it won't scrape off. So when you store it, you don't have to deal with this mess. You just basically prop it up in your closet or wherever you store your stuff, and it'll stay that way. Now I wouldn't put stuff on top of it to store it, right? I wouldn't put stuff on top of my grass to store that either, but that is how that works, right? And so then, to finish this off, now again, if this was mine at home, I would have the snow on the road would look a little different than this. It would have the lines, you know, cars. And the way I do that is when I put the glue down, and that's usually the really crystal clear Mod Podge. And when I put the Mod Podge down, I do it with a paintbrush where I have one line down the middle of the road, right? And then a couple of lines up next to the sidewalk and one next to the curb. And then I take that fresh fallen snow and sprinkle it all over that and push it down and let it dry. Then I squirt that again with a little bit of the glue water mixture. But before it dries, I take the same paintbrush and I scrape those lines back to help define them. And then when that dries on the sidewalk and on the road, it's as hard as a rock. It's not going to go anywhere. It's permanent snow, and it looks just like real snow on the road. I've had so many people go, "How did you get ice on your little roadway?" But it's not ice. It's clear, the very shiny Mod Podge, because when your lights at night reflect out on your road, it shines like it's ice. It looks absolutely beautiful. This is not the right snow to use for that. You need the fresh fallen snow. The Department 56 makes that, and they sell it inside of those. Okay, so I think we got one more accessory piece. Now, I don't have the lights that we would use to put this up, but you would obviously cut a hole and tie this, or just bring it to the back of the building where you wouldn't see it. And then the last finishing touches that I think add huge depth to anything are these snow-covered bushes, right? And the way you can do that, I mean, if you cut it right, we just got sort of lucky with that one, right? But then you can take the others and kind of bring them around to the sides and all of a sudden you've got a whole little display that you can proudly set up on your hutch or anywhere else. And then there's one other accessory piece that you can get. This is perfect, and it's got some of that sidewalk that I was talking about in it. It comes with all of these trees. You got a couple bare branch trees, and then a whole bunch. And this is your fresh fallen snow. There's nothing. I've used 100 bags of snow, and this is the best you can get. I promise you it's the best. And it is from Department 56. Okay, so let's take just a couple of. It's hard to have too many trees, right? And they're relatively inexpensive, but the flavor they add to the vignette is amazing. If you want to wrap that. So we'll start putting random trees in different places.
I want to live there.
Yeah, I would like to live there.
So we're going to do 2 rounds. We're going to do one for the display that he made, not the stuff, but just the base. And then the Peanuts building and accessories signed by Tom Scott Enner. What should we do first? What do we do the display Anybody else? Everybody have their name in? Okay.
All right, here we go.
Esme, no, I'm kidding. That was me. Frank Mace. All right. Frank Mace. All right, now we're going to draw for the Peanuts building and accessories. Frank, can you fold it yours? Bing Akeley.
What am I retrieving for you? Oh, fine.
Sue's got it. I've never seen it again.
No, I already have it. That's why you'll see it. Yes. So.
We're going to take a little break now. Sorry, food is going to be here around 12:30, so we're going to give you a chance to kind of shop around, move your feet. Paul's inside. He does more than just Nicole. He does all of the licensing villages with Grinch, Mickey, Christmas Story, Pumpkin Town, Harry Potter. So he does a lot. So he's very knowledgeable. You can ask him tons of questions. If you have any pieces that you want signed, he's in there. And then I'll let you guys know when lunch is here.